Okay, today is July 22nd, 2020, and I bought a green screen. You can see that behind me. And what I've been doing through this COVID-19 set of dynamics for our society is trying to learn something new. I can't say every day, but to keep my mind sharp. And so I decided that since I like photography and I like use of cameras, I would learn how to do green screens. So this is probably my second or third attempt at doing something. Now, I want to also say that the world lost an incredible person this past weekend, and that's person of John Lewis. And what I decided to do was to do a green screen kind of commemorative of his life. I've been able to collect some footage of him during some of the most monumental periods in his lifetime. So I'm going to try to do something using this backspace of green screens to help kind of tell a story of John Lewis. I am very, very thankful to have lived this part of my life, to be at this stage in my life where I have vivid memories of John Lewis. And I look back and I think that I really, really took note of him as he was this young guy, a few years older than me at the time, who was a speaker at the March on Washington, and his incredible role in many, many peaceful demonstrations all across the country during the Civil Rights period. And of course, all of us know about the Bloody Sunday, of which Congressman Lewis was severely injured. So anyway, I hope this does make sense. I'm excited about trying to put this sort of thing together. I hope it works. So my son told me that what I should do is, if I'm going to do lengthy narratives, that I would take the opportunity to do it in YouTube and then download it to Facebook. And that way, since my work tends to be a little lengthy, people can go in and out and view it at their leisure, as opposed to seeing it on Facebook, particularly if it's more than 3, 4, 5 minutes long. And I have not been able to capture what I'm trying to convey in that short period of time. He is indeed a tremendous beacon for young people today, to see a person who I wouldn't say he evolved, because he was always in the moment in his life, and his narrative goes back when he was a teenager. And as you know, he passed away, I think, at the age of 80 years old. So he's been a part of the movement for a significant part of his life. And I think we all need to sing a song of praise for John Lewis and all that he's given us. And I'm hoping that this green screen and doing what I'm doing pays the appropriate tribute to a wonderful American, and a wonderful African American, and a person who believed very strongly that Black lives matter. So, thank you very much.
We started organizing. We were able to bring more than 250,000 people to March on Washington. And we all had to prepare a speech. I was very young, 23 years old, had all of my hair and a few pounds lighter.
I have the pleasure to present to this.
When A. Philip Randolph said, "I now present to you young John Lewis, the National Chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee."
Brother John Lewis.
I looked to my right I saw hundreds and hundreds of young people who had been involved during the early days. Looked straight ahead, I saw this sea of humanity. Then I looked to the left. I saw young black men and young white men up in the trees trying to get a better view. And then I said to myself, well, this is it. And I looked straight ahead again. And something said to me, go for it. And I opened my mouth and I started speaking.
I have the pleasure to present to this great audience young John Lewis, National Chairman, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Brother John Lewis.
We march today for jobs and freedom, but we have nothing to be proud of. But hundreds and thousands of our brothers are not here, for they're receiving starvation wages or no wages at all. While we stand here, there are sharecroppers in the Delta of Mississippi who are out in the field working for less than $3 a day, 12 hours a day. While we stand here, there are students in jail on trump-up charges. Our brother James Farmer, along with many others, is also in jail. We come here today with a great sense of misgiving. It is true that we support the administration's civil rights bill. We support it with great reservation, however. Unless Title III is put in this bill, there's nothing to protect the young children and old women who must face police dogs and fire hoses in the South while they engage in peaceful demonstration.
If at every stage of America's civil rights movement there was a king front and center, there was nearly always a young prince alongside, John Lewis. The son of sharecroppers, he began protesting when just 20 years old, there on the March on Washington, on the buses in Birmingham, and on that bridge in Selma.
And generations from now, when parents teach their children what is meant by courage, the story of John Lewis will come to mind. An American who knew that change could not wait for some other person or some other time.
Lewis was born in 1940 in rural Alabama, when life in the South was dictated by Jim Crow laws which enforced racial segregation. When he started college in Nashville, the movement to end all that was beginning, and Lewis joined the sit-ins, when activists would seat themselves at white-only lunch counters in protest at segregation. Faced with beatings, they would never retaliate.
I was sitting there demanding a God-given right, and my soul became satisfied that I was right in what I was doing. I could no longer be satisfied or go along with an evil system.
In 1961, he became one of the original 13 Freedom Riders, traveling on Greyhound buses through the South to force the desegregation of public transport.
I felt good. I felt happy. I felt liberated. I was like a soldier in a nonviolent army.
Lewis was beaten in North Carolina, knocked unconscious in Alabama, and jailed in Mississippi. Such attacks in the face of peaceful protest shocked the world and forced Americans to confront the true nature and extent of racism in their nation.
We are tired. We are tired of being beaten by policemen. We're tired of seeing our people locked up in jail over and over again. And then you holler, be patient. How long can we be patient? We want our freedom, and we want it now.
Soon Lewis and others would turn to voting rights, trying to help African Americans to register when so many barriers were placed in their way. They planned to march from Selma to Montgomery in Alabama. Yet they were met on the Edmund Pettus Bridge by state troopers who charged at them. And who was at the front line, taking yet another beating for his cause?
They came toward us, beating us with nightsticks, bullwhips, trapping us with horses. This is me here.
50 years later, Lewis returned in a different time with a very different president.
If someone had told me when we were crossing this bridge that one day I would be back here introducing the first African-American president, I would have said, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you don't know what you're talking about.
And so it was Lewis who was the first to embrace Barack Obama as he walked out to make history in 2009.
Why a man whose father less than 60 years ago might not have been served at a local restaurant can now stand before you to take a most sacred oath. There's a quote inscribed over a doorway in Nashville where students first refused to leave lunch counters 51 years ago, this February. And the quote said, "If not us, then who? If not now, then when?" It's a question John Lewis has been asking his entire life. It's what led him back to the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma after he'd already been beaten within an inch of his life days before. It's why time and again he faced down death so that all of us could share equally in the joys of life. It's why all these years later he is known as the conscience of the United States Congress, still speaking his mind on issues of justice and equality. And generations from now, when parents teach their children what is meant by courage, the story of John Lewis will come to mind. An American who knew that change could not wait for some other person or some other time, whose life is a lesson in the fierce urgency of now.
From his activism in the civil rights movement to his nearly 25 years in the House of Representatives, John R. Lewis has dedicated his life to shattering barriers and fighting injustice. The son of sharecroppers from Alabama, he rose with courage, fortitude, and purpose to organize the first student sit-ins and the earliest freedom rides. The youngest speaker at the 1963 March on Washington, a fearless advocate and a distinguished member of Congress, John Lewis has earned our lasting gratitude for a lifetime dedicated to the pursuit of equality and justice for all.